Hey everybody, here's something a little different for you. This is part of our live event in Toronto, part of our three-part series on pre-construction and how to sell it in Calgary, but really it's how to sell it anywhere. So watch this one and the other two coming right up. Like and subscribe. I've got tons of great content coming up on how to survive in a tough market, how to sell pre-con, how to do new homes, how to get endless listings. It's all coming up on this channel. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the human brain starts activity just before you're born, so just before a baby's born. And the only time it stops is when you public speak. So I'll just give you a second with that one. I'm here all week. Brad keeps, which brings me to my the second point. Well, Brad keeps keeps talking about himself getting fat in the last few months since he got married last August and to his lovely wife. But I was thinking when I was standing outside that I used to love like the universe, and I looked into the solar system and stuff. And if you're 200 pounds on Earth, on Mars, you're only 76. So he's not fat, he's just on the wrong planet. I was hoping that would get a couple more laughs. No, any more jokes? Okay, I'm out of jokes. I might have a couple more. We'll see what happens. Okay, how to sell pre-construction in the Calgary market and dominate your market. So here's the thing. When we put these slide decks together and stuff, we put them together, and then Shane changes them all up. And so there's one thing that you guys probably aren't aware of that we have in common, that I have in common with you. You don't know what I'm going to talk about here, and neither do I. So here we go. So our credentials, okay, so they already talked about this, like 1,800. The numbers are just stupid. Like it just gets into the like ridiculous. It says 18 months. It's probably closer to 24 months. We did 1,800 pre-con sales with my good friend and partner, Brad. 675 million in revenue. 27 million earned by the GTA brokers in Calgary sales. So sales in Calgary by GTA brokers and realtors. So I just want to really emphasize that because we get realtors calling us weekly, monthly, daily sometimes, and they're like, yeah, but I'm licensed in Toronto. We're like, don't worry about that. We got it all covered. So this is all done by agents out of Toronto. We made history, record-breaking 2,000 plus units sold to Toronto investors. So this started a couple of years ago. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna kind of give you a quick itinerary here. We're gonna talk about how to sell pre-con in Calgary as a GTA agent. And then we're gonna launch a building called Sandgate in Mahogany Lake for you. So get excited about that one because this one's like unbelievable. It's the best location we've ever had. So do not leave. If I suck at this part, just don't leave because you're probably going to make some money anyways. So for some reason we have this in here again, but we're going to skip that. Okay, so it's really important that you guys understand because you're in Toronto, and what happens is the investors and yourselves, you get so wrapped up in what you're doing and what's happening in Toronto, because I know it is the center of the universe, right? Hey, Brad. That you don't really know what's happened in the history, obviously, of the Alberta market or any other markets and that. And what's happening here right now is you're kind of on a bit of a downturn. I think it's actually going to be fairly quick, but you need to understand what Calgary's gone through. We're not experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing here, okay? Not to the degree that you're experiencing it. And it's because we've had two completely different trajectories over the past few years. So sorry about this. This is the best one that I could find online. So the house price index indicates new homes and new home prices. So if you look at, I think we got how do we go backwards? Anyone? No, that was right. Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you. So there is is there a laser on there? Okay, I'm just gonna go like this. So dark blue, I wrote that on there so that you can see. Dark blue, boop, is the Calgary, and then it's kind of a dark blue. It came out as purple, so just call it purple. Pink is Toronto, of course. So back in 06, 08, like we were the jewel of Canada. The streets were paved in gold. There was so much money happening and flowing. It was crazy. And then of course, the world financial crisis came, and it affected us actually more than it did Toronto or Vancouver, but mostly because we went up too fast in 06 to 08, and so it had to come back down to reality, which is what it did. So when it goes up too fast, it's got to come down a little bit. And then after that, we went into 10, 12, 14. So we had a really good run. In 2010, the market was tough in Calgary. By 2012, it recovered. And then 2014, it was like absolutely hysterical again. But after that, of course, everybody knows the oil crashed. And in the 1980s, oil crashed again. And it was because, well, we won't talk about why it was because, but it crashed again. And but house prices dropped immediately. Like overnight, they went down 25 or 30%. This time it was a slow bleed. And the difference is the GDP of Alberta in the 1980s was 50% oil and gas. Today, it's like, I don't know, 25, 26%. So it's the economy's diversified immensely. As a matter of fact, we actually came to the conclusion, like in the last couple of years, we figured oil would probably never really recover for Alberta, and we weren't even counting on it. So there was massive expansion in our economy with tech companies and et cetera, et cetera. We're going to get into that in a minute. But you can see Toronto, Vancouver, and most of the major cities in Canada just kept going up. Well, we flatlined and we kind of bled for a few years. Up to 2018 was probably the worst year I'd seen in real estate in Alberta. And then 2019, you could feel there was a difference. Things were changing. The mindset of the clients was changing. So 2018, you go, somebody call you and go, hey, I want to go see a house. And you go, hey, do you have a pre-approval? They're like, no. And you're like, can you go get one? They're like, no, I just want to see the house. Where 2019, you'd be like, hey, do you have a pre-approval? And they'd be like, yeah, I'll go get a pre-approval. So the mindset completely changed, and so things were coming back. But what happens is sales can start, it always takes about a year and a half before things change in an economic downturn or an upturn. And so what happened was that 2019, for the first half of the year, sales were up, but prices were still slipping a little bit until about the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020. You could see the prices were just starting to come back. And pre-COVID, January, February, March, we had the best start in probably, I don't know, like it was at least 8 or 9 years, if not like a dozen years or whatever. So things were starting to happen. Then of course, COVID hit, which I was crying in my soup. For all of April, the first lockdown, I was like, "Oh, we're dead," but that's not what happened. So things just took off by May, and then they just continued, and we've been crushing it ever since. But before we get into this, just a little bit of history of myself. So I've been in the industry for 25 years. I know I look like I'm 24, but that was a joke. But I can laugh at my own jokes. Yeah, exactly. I've worked for a couple of big names that you know. I was in the new home industry for 17 straight years before I got licensed in 2014. So I worked directly like in sales, management, and then I got licensed, and then I actually worked with so previous to that, I worked with Mattamy Homes. I'm sure you guys have all heard of them for about 6 years, and we did work with realtors in Calgary. And then after I got licensed, I worked with Minto Communities for a couple of years. So working with some massive companies. Now, Minto, they had a building. Now, we're talking in like 2018, 2019. They launched a building downtown, but condos had not recovered downtown yet. And so they launched it, went to the wrong demographic. And they decided after 5-6 months we didn't have the sales. I think we had 25 sales in 5 months. It was terrible. And so they said, well, we're going to take it off the market, or we're just going to sell it as a rental. Anyways, whatever they were going to do, it all equaled no money for Mark, and that was bad. So at the same time, I came to Toronto, and I went to a launch downtown. 500 realtors show up. You guys know what happens, right? Pre-COVID, 500 realtors show up. See, they liked it. 500 realtors show up. It was like the Academy Awards, and I'm going, what the fuck is going on here? I'm like, I'm coming from Calgary. It was dead, and I go to Toronto, and everything's just rocking. So I texted Brad, and I said, wherever he may be, and I said, hey, we're going to do this in Calgary. And he texts me back, and he goes, you're an idiot. That's never going to work, because that's how we talk to each other. So anyways, I said, no, we'll just wait till I get back, and we're going to talk about this. So I laid out a plan for him, and I said, we're going to sell this to Toronto agents and their investors, because we're so cheap right now. We're going nowhere but up. And so it took, I came back, we launched the plan. Every possible hurdle or whatever over a 2 or 3 month period happened. We didn't think it was going to happen even up to the end. So it was a small, like a mid-rise building, 13 stories, 180 units. And so this is a building that they were taking off the market, and we're going to sell the site, which nobody was going to buy at that time. And we literally came back, we launched it in Toronto, and we sold the entire building out in 4 weeks. It was absolutely insane. It had never been done in the history of Calgary, let alone right at the tail end of a recession when everything looked brutal. But it was literally so cheap, like you could shake the change out of your couch and buy a condo, right? Compared to Toronto. So people got it, and we put like rental guarantees on it and stuff, gave all kinds of incentives, and it just absolutely exploded. But the biggest thing was, what I recognized immediately is, for the consumer and for the agents that are here, we had to differentiate what were the differences between Toronto and Calgary, and why would you want to buy? Now, if somebody launches on Yonge Street or I don't know Toronto that well, everybody knows where that location is, and then they go, oh my God, yeah, I've got customers that want to buy there. But if I told you, hey, we're launching something in Mahogany in Calgary, you're going to stare at me like deer in the headlights and go, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it wasn't just selling the property. We had to sell the city, the economy, the location. We had to sell the build. Well, we didn't really have to sell the builder, because it was Minto. Most people knew them, but we had to paint a big picture. And so the point that I'm making with you guys is, you're in a little bit of a slide, and it's getting really quiet in Toronto right now. There's still opportunities out there for you, but you just have to learn about it. If you haven't done pre-con, there's a few people in here that have. If you have not sold in Calgary before, what I get from agents, they're like, oh yeah, but my clients, I got 3 clients and they don't want to buy in Calgary. I'm like, you just need to educate them. Educate them about the market, because I believe we still have about a 20 to 30% margin to go up before we're anywhere close to where we should be. Back to the slide with the graph. 2008, we were the same price or higher than Toronto was. We've always been higher than Ottawa. Does anybody know what the average price in Ottawa is right now? Anyone? Of course, Brock would know. Kind of live there. So 900,000. The average for Calgary right now, what, Larry? 560. And we've always been a higher average than Ottawa. So it's only in the last couple of years that Ottawa's exploded. So our natural place in Canada at this point should really be about 3/4 of the price. Is just an educated guess. 3/4 of the price of where Toronto is. And that's if Toronto slips, another 10% or 15%. So we have a long ways to go in order to catch up. So there's just some absolutely smoking deals. Now, the big troughs where we would go up like this, and then we would crater and then go up again, those days are over. Because COVID, everybody learned that you can work from your home. Now we have a huge migration, which we didn't have for about 5 or 6 years. We had a huge migration from, and we're still experiencing this, from Toronto and from Vancouver, because, like I said, you can shake the change out of your couch and go buy property in Calgary. Now, if people are making a permanent move there, the first thing that they do is what? So we moved from Ontario in 95. First thing that we did was we rented for about a year and then we bought because we wanted to learn the lay of the land. We wanted to know where everything was. So it's a win-win situation, doesn't matter how you look at it. And just speaking with developers, I spoke with one that does purpose-built rentals downtown. In the last few months, they can't keep up to the demand for rentals downtown. So they keep increasing their prices, and we're gonna get into this because you can do this in some of the beauties of Calgary. You can do this, you can increase the price as much as you want every year, and the tenant is just part of the law there, so, and how it works. It's a freaking investor's dream. So I don't really need to pitch Calgary, because it absolutely has gone viral in the last year and a half. But it's better if you really understand what's happening, what the differences are there. So, and I can see Cal at the back madly writing, so I must be saying some of the right things. Hey everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content coming out 2 or 3 times a week. See you in the next video.